For all the merchants, yes, that are included in this, yes. Could you give me every transaction and all the items were purchased from every merchant that that is named in this settlement? Poop. Because as the consumer, I'd like to have a class action lawsuit. Yes. I'd like to have a class. Well, it's one thing to say that you had a point of sale machine. Yes. Or you process transactions. Yes. But it's another thing to not take into consideration what was being purchased at the time of the purchase of the transaction. You know, some people don't realize it, but when you pay greater amounts of expense as the actual merchant, oftentimes that expense moves to the consumer. Yes, and the consumer ends up having to pay that. Now, yesterday, I was looking at that 6% in the military. Yes. You remember how you're going to just cut the interest rates off of all of those that enlist? Yes. Could you get me the actual debt of the federal government? Now, I wanted to make sure that the United States federal government is not using taxes to pay for any of the debt of those that enlist in the military. See, we have student loans, yes, and that you sign for those student loans as an adult when going to higher education, yes. But the government does not have an obligation to pay for any of our debts as citizens of the United States. So, if in that legislation that you recently passed, yes, if the government is using any taxpayer funds, yeah, that's going to be $100 billion lawsuit. Whoever there was that did that. Because I just don't see that credit card companies, right, that do the merchant processing, yes, where the merchant pays for the service of doing the credit card process, yes. Then the credit card company pays the bank to issue the debit or credit card, yes, as a minuscule percentage of the actual purchase price, yes. That they're just going to go ahead and say, well, for every merchant that uses our card, see, there's the consumer, there's the merchant, yes, then there's the federal government right now. And I'm thinking that this could be a much larger class action lawsuit for Visa, MasterCard. Just give me every transaction of every point of sale, yes, of every merchant from January 4th of 2004, January 1. Give me that, right?